Call this meeting to order. Director Skinner,
Here.
Director Jack Jacobs,
Here.
Director Craig Carter,
Here.
Vice Chair David Haslam,
Here.
and Chair Eric Lawson.
Here.
Next item on the agenda is the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the people you gather in this room. Father, thank you for the time that you've allowed me to serve here with the amazing over 800 employees and all the citizens that we represent. Father, please lead us and guide us throughout this evening in your heavenly name. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. And to remind you, this includes the consent agenda as well as the regular agenda.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda as it's written.
I will second that.
So we have a motion and a second public comment. So any public comment, please keep your comments specifically about the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's really good. You're looking at the communication regarding the second referendum that will be voted on tomorrow by the City Commission. I question the wisdom of a $450 lawsuit from a new attorney. I think, sir, as a head of a hospital, you are looking at legal Armageddon, sir. And you have plenty of money to work with because you have decided the city will have to pay your legal fees. So I don't think we should skimp on legal representation. What I think we should do is pause the transfer and find the most powerful, well-connected Tallahassee law firm out there. It used to be Greenberg Trog, and pay the transfer into their trust account so they not only can litigate this matter, so that they can lobby the legislature to fix HB 1645, to lobby the legislature to give you the firm availability you'll never get to without a bailout, and also to facilitate the sale of the electric utility to an investor-owned utility to end the suffering. And I'll be speaking more about that later.
Thank you. Seeing as no other public comment, back to the board for any comments about the agenda. No comments. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from May 14th, 2025.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve minutes from the May 14th meeting as written.
We have a motion and a second of the approval of the minutes. Public comment on approval of the minutes. Seeing as no public comment, back to the board. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the chair comments.
I'm going to save my comments for the end. Tonight, we'll be celebrating Craig's service, and so we'll all get a chance to spend some time and thank him and comment on that at the end of the night. So that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Next, we have general public comment.
Mr. Chair, Jim Conish, in the wake of Mr. Bolarski's white paper issued February 7th, 2019, I wrote a letter to the Gainesville Sun. I'd appreciate you letting me finish it, sir. I put a lot of work into this. You're not going to let me use a PowerPoint. You're going to treat the citizens like they're not welcome. And you're not going to listen to any citizen, no matter how much expertise they have. And that is a disservice, sir. It is time to pull the plug on GRU's electric utility. I have closely followed and objected to the steady demise of our Gainesville Regional Utilities electric utility that has unfolded since the turn of the century. It is now imperative that our community face the reality of our current untenable situation. 7 part-time elected city commissioners with absolutely no expertise continue to wreak financial havoc countywide. All 7 have sworn allegiance to their political party bosses and little else. Our electric generating plants are dirty, uneconomic, and antiquated, way long on base load and way short on peaking units. Our ability to bring in outside power is limited. While sophisticated investor-owned utilities erect solar farms in our backyards, we decimate forests and bring in coal laden with mercury that contaminates our fish. We are now witnessing soaring across the board rate increases, rising costs, shrinking protected revenues, and massive debt. While I worked hard on GRU governance, I now recommend a referendum to direct an independent qualified board, such as your own, sir, to vet all credible bids to buy our GRU electric utility for the following reasons. A private utility will be large enough to absorb our massive debt and horrendous decision-making. All GRU electric bills will go down by anywhere from 25 to 60%. GRU electric utility assets will go on the tax rolls to the benefit of the county, school board, and the city of Gainesville. Franchise fees could also be charged by the city and Alachua County for use of their right-of-ways. A very large and abused political ATM will be decommissioned once and for all. The State Public Service Commission would closely monitor the fuel adjustment charge and all the electric rates. Our obsolete and dirty power plants would be decommissioned sooner rather than later, which would remove massive amounts of pollution from our airshed. The GRU electric utility has become a public liability. The poor are suffering the brunt of this deteriorating financial disaster, sir. In the meantime, our local legislative delegations need to arrange for the state of Florida Auditor General to perform an operational audit of GRU, which in fact has taken place, and the city flunked it.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Janice Gary, and I'm a longtime GRU user. On April 3rd, I spoke with this body and pointed out that there had been 2 referendums on which the voters of Gainesville rejected the idea of state involvement in governing our municipal utility. The first referendum was in 2018 and passed by some 60% of the voters. In 2024, nearly 73% of voters more strongly rejected the idea. After my comments, there were speakers at the dais who dismissed those facts and made other comments, and I'd like to respond. One person said that students who don't use GRC services voted, suggesting that their votes were invalid. Students who live on campus use GRU water services. Students who live off campus use many multi-services from GRU. Students' votes that rejected a state-appointed authority are valid. Another person at the dais said that voters didn't know what they were voting for. That's not true. Voters have been saying no for over 10 years and voted on it in 2018. Voters have attended forums, heard presentations, read articles about the pluses and minuses of local leadership versus state involvement. Voters were informed, whether you want to admit it or not. One person said that GRU is the best utility in this country. The City Commission has been running GRU for over 100 years. The authority has been running the utility for less than 2 years, and that's including the time an unqualified board was at the dais and had to resign en masse. The quality of the utility is due to this community and our leadership, not you. One person said, "This is ridiculous that we continue to discuss governance of our utility." I would counter that it is ridiculous that voters have to keep saying the same thing over and over and over for years and years and years. This authority is not a political operative, you say. When a legislator intentionally bypasses voters who have rejected his obsession for the state's involvement in our municipal utility and takes that idea to the state level without notifying voters or local leadership, that's a political move. And that's how HB 1645 became law. This authority is a political operative. Another person at the dais said, and I quote, oh boy, this is a good one, 73% of the vote is playing tricks with the numbers. Actually, 20% of the population voted, so 73% of maybe 20% voted for it. Where did that 20% number come from? The supervisor of election keeps information on this, and my colleague Chuck Ross will tell you the data. Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree. Chuck Ross, I support the statements made by Janice Gary. I handed out a ballot chart that shows the precinct by precinct results. And I put the link to the supervisor of elections so you can go and look at it and verify what I have there for yourself. The data shows that voters consistently, with an overwhelming supermajority, voted to eliminate the authority from governance of GRU and reinstate the local elected officials. 68% of the registered voters in the election voted in the election in Gainesville. 73% of them voted to remove the GRU authority. These facts are undeniable. The voters spoke loudly and clearly. Voters were very informed. Several public meetings took place discussing the referendum. They recognize that you are appointees of the governor with no accountability to local GRU customers. They recognize that there have been decisions made that they do not benefit GRU, Gainesville, and the future of our utility services. The takeover of GRU by the state began with legislators who ignored voters and took their bill directly to the state. You are continuing to ignore the voters by taking legal action and persisting in legal action. Spending time and taxpayer money is a disservice to the community. We ask that you recognize the will of Gainesville's voters and cease any and all further legal actions. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Donald Shepard, for the record, and I've heard this malarkey for 104 years. It's about time the Republicans take a step up to the plate and help us Republicans out. I am not seeing that yet, but if we do, we will not have Democrats in control. They need to be cut off from everything they do. That way, GRU can be run stable like it was back in 2017. Ed Borowski was the CEO back then of our GRU, and he's CEO now. Why? Because the records prove his stability. Craig Carter is another one that had been on back then and is here yet today. It's proven the performance in which they've done is in the best interest of GRU and the people. But, you know, if you're a Democrat, you ain't gonna never see it. I don't care how many years it is. You're never gonna see it because you're blinded. You're a Democrat. You don't understand logic or common sense. Those are the two faults. Jesse Walters pointed that out. All those TV hosts that are on Channel 20 and Channel 12 pointed that out. So why is it now that people can come in this meeting and speculate about the abilities of GRU? Hello, you got a GRU associate that can take and walk you through every step that GRU has took and planned in your behalf, but how many actually do it? I'm not seeing anybody in this room that does that. And if they did, they wouldn't be up here at this podium fighting GRU in behalf of it. Sure, they have a bill. You pay your bill. You got your utilities. If you don't pay it, oh, well, sorry. That's the way the business works. And if they don't understand business, they need to stop and quit their job because they're going about things wrong. And go back to college or school and learn what God's given you. And that's all I have, sir. And keep doing great work in what you're doing.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the director comments.
I'll go first. I too have the voting records from the supervisor election, the facts. 39,368 people voted yes for the thing. The population of Gainesville, so the 2023 census, was about 146,000. That means about 26% of the citizens of Gainesville voted for this. If you go by GRU customer numbers, I think, what do we have, 104,000, Mr. Valesky, something like that right now, or is it more than that or less?
Yeah, about 104,000, that's
So
right.
that's about 37% of the customers. Hardly a mandate, hardly a voice of the community. So let's put that to rest right here and now. And you're welcome to get these figures here from me. Also, about being an unelected independent commission, is that I've never talked to anybody from Tallahassee since I've been elected. I'm on this board as a citizen and a customer of GRU. There's nobody that's told me how to vote. I'm not here as a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent. I'm here to make sure we can right the ship and pay off our debt. No one's ever called me and told me how to vote. I haven't talked with anybody. I've never talked with Ron DeSantis. I've never talked with anybody from Tallahassee since I've been put on this board, and they told me, congratulations, you're on it. Good luck. Hope you can straighten it out. So I don't know where this is coming from, that we're some kind of political cabal. We're not. We're here as citizens and customers ourselves. Excuse me. Also, by every single metric, GRU has improved over the last 2 years since the board's here. I dare any one of you to bring up here. The rates have gone down, our debt's gone down, our interest rate's gone down. We just got our bond rating approved. In fact, the city got its own bond rating approved because they weren't saddled with the debt of GRU attached to them. So by every metric, everything's improved. So how are you going to argue against it? How are you going to take the opposite side of what's right in front of your face? Rates are down. We used to be the laughingstock, highest rates in the city. Now we're in the middle of the pack and steadily going down. The only thing that went up was a 20% increase on our garbage pickup and our stormwater that was implemented again by the city commission because they didn't have the foresight to figure out how to pay with it without going into your pockets. We're the protector of your pockets. There wouldn't be no 20% increase in that, and it was up to us. And now it's on your GRU bill, so it looks like somehow we've increased it. You need to talk to your city commissioners about that. Now, I watched the city commission meeting. I didn't see any of you up there challenging their competency or their backgrounds like you challenge us. I'll put my background and my credentials against any one of those commissioners. And again, you talk about the students. The whole gist of that wasn't the fact that students use utilities. They do. But a lot of times it's included in their rent, and they're only temporary residents. They're here for a year, 2 years, 3 years, then they're gone. But the policies they vote for stay here forever. And your leaders over in the city commissioner go harvest ballots. That's what it's about. They harvest ballots on the campus to get votes to try and pass their agenda. That's the issue. People that don't have a vested interest in this community like we do. I mean, it's pretty clear. Over the last 20 decades, $750 million went to the city commission out of the general funds transfer. We could have paid down the debt for our utility here and not been near bankruptcy. And yes, this is the best utility in the country, but it was run by some of the worst city commissioners, because I could remember back when they used to not fund what they should be funding, like infrastructure, law enforcement. Some of the city commissioners had the nerve to say now that they didn't have the money to invest in their firefighters, that some of the firefighters came. Well, I know where there's some money. There's about 8.5 million still going into general funds transfer over there. So you got to ask yourself, out of that 750 million we've been giving them the past 2 decades, did your roads improve? No. Did crime improve? We've got shootings almost every other weekend now. Did the homeless situation improve? We got homeless at every intersection here begging for money, even though we've got some of the nicest facilities and resources for them to take advantage of. And we still got the homeless everywhere, fecal matter, biohazards, tent cities. Nothing has improved. So you got to ask yourself, where did that money go? And who was the steward of using your money wisely? That's it for now.
I don't want to go behind that. But I'm going
Thank you, Jay. David?
Yeah, so I don't want to, act like some of the public does, but just critique, I guess. That lectern makes some of you guys behave crazy. It seems to make some of you guys say things that aren't true. It seems to make you guys want to misquote things that we've said, and that's, as your neighbor and as your friend, I'd recommend that you really think about that. Get up with some real facts. During my time on this board, I've learned a lot. I've listened a lot. I don't always agree with all you guys, so you guys think that means that I'm not listening. I am listening. I just don't agree with a lot of what you're trying to push on us. I joined this board because of what I perceived to be a horrible mess at GRU. That's why I joined this board. What I found was a horrible mess made by the city commission. And not any particular city commissioner, and I'm not calling one of them out, but it was over a long time, a lot of bad decisions made by multiple commissioners. Some of them probably had the best interest at heart, but some of them don't. Some of them just kind of changed. Frankly, I can't stay quiet about all of it anymore because, you guys are coming to us so boisterous with lies and accusatory things on the internet and going to commission meetings and saying things that just aren't true and aren't even relevant half the time. We've been accused by the commissioners, the surrogates, some of you guys, by being some sort of political pawn by the governor. I have never met the governor. I have never talked to the governor. I talked to like the assistant, like some real low-level guy. I've never, you know what I mean? The governor doesn't know me or care about me. You guys are silly. I wish I was that important. I'm not. I wish I was important as some of you guys think you are, in fact. That'd be great. But I'm not beholden to some sort of big fossil fuel craziness. In fact, I love the outdoors. I love environmental stewardship, probably more than a lot of you guys. I spend a lot of time camping, fishing, swimming. I love that. That's like something I genuinely appreciate. I do, the term conservative, I hope we conserve our resources. I hope we take care of our local community. I've been here for 20 years. I have kids here. I have grandkids here. My oldest daughter just got accepted to UF. Yeah, I'm excited. I love it. I'm your neighbor. I may not be not necessarily your friend, some of you guys. I get that. We could be. I want to be a nice guy. I don't want to be hateful like some of you can be. Rest assured, I'm not a politician. I'm fighting for you, right? But some of these things that people say are crazy. David Hastings, he's told people the GRU board meetings are a scary thing. I don't understand how us lowering bills by 25% is scary or living within a budget. When you have to live inside of a budget, it's scary to go outside of that. Some of us learned how to, hey, you can't spend more money than you have. It might be scary for those who want to seize the control of our piggy bank here at GRU, but it's not a piggy bank. It's taking care of our utilities. It's keeping our lights on. It's keeping people employed, fed, There's a lot going on there. Commissioner Eastman, he said it isn't right that the commissioners have to make hard decisions on the budget. Okay, so instead, force that upon GRU. Dump into our coffers and take our money, and then we have to do something about the budget. GRU is not their piggy bank. I'll say that again, all right? It's been pushed to a very dangerous limit in my opinion. Not in my opinion. Does it 1.7 billion? Come on, seriously. That's a huge number, okay? When more than half of it doesn't need to be there, not to even mention the biomass debacle, right? I hate to say, Chuck, I actually respect you, but you said that you believe the power generation in GRU is in jeopardy. I mean, that's just not true. You know, the IRP is a piece of paper. It's a report, okay? The skilled men and women of GRU, they're going to act on those plans, and I trust that they're going to do the right job. Ed's going to have a presentation, and I'm sure he can explain it better than I can, but power generation is not in jeopardy. As a guy who is more of a blue-collar guy, the blue-collar people that make up majority of GRU, they can take offense to that, so I would just question how you're wording that. Commissioner Engel, he said, as far as he's concerned, we're being robbed. We're being robbed. Is this his money that we're taking? We're not taking any money. We're not doing that. Imagine that a robber comes into your house to steal your money to find out that you put it in the bank, okay? Then the robber, he goes to GPAD and tells them that your victim stole from you because they couldn't have your money. That's what's going on here. They're mad at us because they can't have the money that rightfully belongs to GRU to pay off horrible debt that, frankly, they created. Commissioner Engel, he said he's in favor of pretty much anything necessary to take control back. Well, Mr. Hastings, meet Commissioner Engel, because that right there is what scary is, when a politician says anything necessary. The mayor said it's absurd, ridiculous, and foolish that we're even in this position. I agree with the mayor. It's absurd, ridiculous that they've put us in this position. There's a whole lot more that I want to say, but I don't know that right now is the right time for it. But just keep in mind, the state built up this horrible debt and this, you know, as Mr. Connors wants to pursue it like we're a sinking ship. Ship's not sinking. We are going to ride it. We're going to ride it. But there is some holes in the bow, not from us, that we're fixing. The city commission, it's been an abusive parent, in my opinion, to GRU. The state stepped in like social service would, all right? And they're not saying, hey, this isn't your child anymore. GRU is still their child, okay? But you've been beating it for 20 years, okay? So we're gonna take that child from you and put it in someone who respects it and wants to take care of that child and make that child healthy again. That's what's being said here. That's what this is all about. I don't know, maybe one day the right commissioners get involved in GRU or try to work with this authority instead of misquoting and lying about things we said. I've never met none of the commissioners. I'll take that back. I have met one of the commissioners, and he actually lied to my face, but I'm not going to say his name because that's something that they would do. All right? So please just think about what I've said tonight. I know that we don't agree on everything, but thank you.
Thanks, David.
Don't look at me.
You're up next.
No, I haven't nothing to say. That's what I'm saying. Don't look at me. I'm a short timer, buddy.
I concur with Director Jacobs. I keep on telling people I have zero contact, and I think I got the assistant of the assistant of the assistant of the assistant's intern is who I speak to. So
Yeah.
I think you're one up on me.
They give me one better than you.
But I do want to give GRU employees, Ed, we hadn't discussed this, so I've been going through town. Some of you don't know my background. I worked with the Department of Transportation in District 2 for over a decade. Your MOT has been spectacular, both daytime and nighttime. Guys go out and right the cones, right the barrels, especially there on 34th and out by Fort Clark Boulevard. Those are two big projects that we have going on, and they've been doing a phenomenal job. So I still have my MOT certification, and I couldn't pulled over and said anything to anybody, anything that was wrong, which is not true for many projects out there, especially when you look at silt fence on the side of the road. They never installed that properly. So I want to give them that kudos because I know it's not easy with the amount of traffic that we have on our roadways to keep that up and stable, but they are constantly staying on top of that. And, you know, we'll have comments about you later. That's all I have.
You sure you don't want to say anything? Okay.
Write a note, Eric. Go ahead. I was there that day.
That concludes the director comments.
The next item for discussion is CEO comments.
Try something better than me, I dare you.
Yeah, boy, I'm overwhelmed with what the board has said. Yeah, I wanted to update folks on the fact that while all this turmoil is out there and we have the give and take, I guess, I want you all to know that our nose is to the grindstone here. You know, like mention the projects. These folks are gearing up. I mean, we went through the hard process of the budget. They're gearing up. They're working on these various projects, not only at GRU, but with the city. You would think that maybe, we'd be like this, but we're not. I had a meeting with Ms. Curry, the city manager, met with all of her folks. I brought Derek with me. We had the city attorney there. We're working on the SLAs. We're sitting there saying, what can we do? As we've moved in this new process, there are new ideas on how we can write them up, how we can assign duties. We'll probably include the payroll SLA in with the human resources. Laura Gretz is the HR director over there. She has a great relationship with Cheryl McBride. They're working almost on, a daily basis. We're seeing that with IT. We started out the budget and said, okay, the city won't have our services for the coming year. They've hired an IT director. He said, whoa, Nellie, we might need some transitionary period of time. We're working with them. So, the boots on the ground, there's not any animosity. They're working together as a combined entity and a team. And that's what the folks out there, I think, really need to hear. Because it's good for the city. We're talking about, we've talked about the bills. You mentioned the solid waste and stormwater. Okay, what are the results you're hearing from the appraiser's office? How much will it cost you? What's the better way to do it? They'll probably lose some revenue if they don't go through GRU because the nonprofits will not be able to be billed. So is there a compromise solution here somewhere? We're talking about all these things related to the betterment of the city. And believe me, we don't want to hurt the city when it comes to any of those synergistic efforts that we're making with shared services. And we're going to continue to do that. So actually, that was my message.
All right. And just from earlier, welcome, Mr. Perry, to GRU. We're glad you're here.
Yeah. Mr. Perry has been here for, was it 2 weeks now?
Maybe 3.
3 weeks, okay. Time flies when you're having fun. And he came from Collier County, and he's bringing forth a really interesting perspective on things. He's already interacting with folks throughout the utility, had a good conversation with the city attorney, and we're moving forward as an entity. And it was as part of one of our goals to have ourselves self-sufficient. And obviously he's met with, and he's displaced Mr. Walker over here and his associate. But we're fine with that.
Thank you, Ian.
All right, the next item on the agenda leading up to that is attorney comments.
Mr. Chair, you asked that we put together a little memorandum on what we can say and not say. And the major piece of the memorandum is you don't check your First Amendment rights at the door. You have the right to say the things that direct comments have been stated here this evening. And, you have the right to get our message out, which is factual, and do that. So Kirsten will be disseminating the memo to each of you, so you have that. And we've should be here this evening or tomorrow it'll be sent out. Okay, good.
Thank you.
We got
Thank
that.
you.
Okay, very good. Craig, I've known you all my practice of law for 40 years, and I've seen your public service over those years. I don't know if I'll get an opportunity to say this later, but I just wanted to say this service for the public is your finest hour, in my view. And what I've seen accomplished here, both in debt reduction, rate reduction, and the like, is exactly what House Bill 1645 is supposed to do. So my view is it's your finest hour. Lastly, I will say, and then I'll turn it over to Kirsten, that we've met Derek Perry, and we have broke bread together at the 8th Judicial Circuit Bar Association. We have a very collegial bar, and I told Derek that our bar tends to try to work together and find resolution, and we adopt that. He obviously has a lot of public service as well as a local government attorney on behalf of the Collier County Attorney's Office, so he comes to the table with a lot of experience already in that area. And I would just have to say, Mr. Chair, that I feel we've gelled over the last few weeks. He's brought his family here. He is indoctrinated into our community, excited about his position here, and we're excited to have him as a member of the team. Thank you. Kirsten?
I just want to continue to update you, and we will continue to update you on the appeal. We have filed our notice of appeal with the First District Court of Appeals on the previous ruling by Judge Wright. There's an item on your agenda where we'll talk about next steps. Obviously, there's always more to come, but we'll keep you updated on that process as more develops, but we are still working on that appeal, and we'll make sure that you have all the updates. And I do just want for the record that we did bully poor Derek into taking that spot because the glare from the window was so terrible, and he so graciously accepted.
Thank you. And thanks for putting the memo together for all of us. I asked them to do that because it's important for us as board members to be telling our story, and that we're consistent in our story, and as Scott said, that we're factual. And so Ed, this is first of many put together for us to make sure that we all understand the facts of GRU's accomplishment over the last 2 years. And the way I look at this is that it really, it's not so much what the board has done, it's what the board has supported GRU leadership and accomplished over the last 2 years. It allowed the leadership to run itself and to make the right, and we supported those right decisions. And so, we are going to be out telling our story in every way that we can, because, everyone needs to understand, what has been accomplished.
I suppose that's my time. I'll keep it brief. For the benefit of the authority and the public, my name is Derek Perry. I have been recently hired by GRU and the authority to be its utilities attorney in-house full-time. I am a resident property owner. I'm a father. I am a husband, and I love practicing law, and I look forward very much to representing the authority and working with Folds Walker and Mr. Bolarski and all of the staff, and also the city in the forthcoming weeks, months, and years. Thank you.
Welcome, Derek. Glad you're here.
Thank you. We move on to the next item agenda, which is business discussions. The first one being resource management agreement between the Energy Authority, T, and GRU. The recommendation is that GRU Authority approve the executed RMA along with the task order 1.
There we go. By the way, Eric, since you've been here, Derek, geez, I was thinking of the chair. Sorry about that. You've been here for 3 weeks. You can call me Ed now. It's not Mr. Bolarski. You can call me Ed. If you remember, we had resigned from GRU in terms of the member position. And I was to bring back the new arrangement that we have moved forward with. And so just as an overview, we have a long history with TEA, one of the founding members. And it was very important for us to maintain that relationship, the parties and the people there. We were looking to get out of that equity position because we didn't see the type of value in that position with the direction we were going as a nonprofit, and really wanted access to their trading capabilities as opposed to being kind of this equity partner. So what we did is we resigned and entered into an agreement that is a resource management agreement that is using them as a vendor, but still having access to the whole portfolio of services that they have developed and can offer us. And that will become effective August 1st. Until then, we're acting as that member. We still have the services that we've had for many years. And we'll be charged $486,000 a year, for those services. There'll be a 1-year resource management agreement with 1-year options.
We'll save $486,000.
Oh, that's right. You've been reading the notes. That's correct. So the elements of the deal, you take a deeper dive on this thing. We are getting a return of about $11.5 million in equity. And that number will keep tracking until that date of August 1st. We'll eliminate $46 million in guarantees, which are just big wins for the utility. And the monthly bill will go from $132,000 to $91,500 a month. And one of the gentlemen in the audience, Chuck Ross, had asked me, he says, well, how do you go from one to the other? It's really that we're losing that ability to accumulate equity with some of the other services that they provide. And they literally have charged more for those. And you don't have the ability to pick an a la carte. So you get services as an equity member. It comes at a specific price versus picking up some of these services that you can choose that benefits the organization. So that's why that's went from $132,000 to $91,500. And so we're literally using the same services that we were getting previously and getting charged less. So to me, it's a win, win, win. And there was one question that I thought we ought to vet at this. It was brought up at another meeting that Section 504 of the city charter disallows disposal of city utility systems. They're specifically deemed to be electric, water, wastewater, telecommunications, and natural gas. Our resignation is not a significant, this is not a utility service that we're getting from TEA. The other condition is the disposal must materially reduce the capacity of that system. Well, by definition, it doesn't, in that we're entering into a contract to provide that same service. So on either count, we're fine changing our position with TEA. And that's what I want to talk about more than anything, is that we are staying a member of TEA, just in a different capacity. And frankly, I think it protects the utility from them overextending on some of their business efforts and some of the things that we have to backstop them for. So I've just asked for you to approve the resource management agreement as executed, along with a task order that spells out the services that are being provided that have went through the energy supply group, and they're comfortable with it.
So we have a recommendation from administration. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the executed RMA along with task order 1.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to pass the recommendation. Public comment?
Mr. Chair, Jim Conish, I commend Mr. Bilarski for this. I think it's a good idea to shed any liability you can, because your balance sheet is very bad. You can pretend it's not as bad as it is, but you're just pretending. So this sheds some liability. When you study the relationship IRA with this entity, and you look at the transactions, you'll see that Ed buys more power through TA than he sells. While he's long on power, his power is uneconomic, so he can't sell it, for one. For number two, it's frequently cheaper for him to buy the power than to produce it, because his arsenal is dirty, old, and uneconomic. And you can pretend that it isn't. You can pretend and try to make people believe that his retrofitted coal plants, which are not as efficient as the combined cycle, and you have one, everyone else has combined cycle solar batteries, and you basically got a donkey, the biomass plant, as your key base load asset going forward. There is no real IRP. There is no real plan to deal with your aging plants. And you're in trouble, whether you care to face it or not. Thank you.
Thanks.
Chuck Ross. Before I forget, at the end of the last meeting when I walked out, Mr. Carter took the time to apologize to me because, as he said, he barked at me because we had a disagreement. And I thank you for apologizing, and I accept it, and I apologize to you if I offended you. And I think the board,
I think we're good.
Miss you.
We're coffee worthy.
We will have coffee worthy. I'm making some comments regarding the agreement with respect to, let's talk about, I didn't see, and I didn't see a termination agreement. We have a resource management agreement, but it seems to me that there should be some sort of memorandum of understanding about the termination, because the general manager has mentioned the $11 million. That was actually 6% of their fund balance or their net position as of September 24. We don't know what it is today, and if we don't have a memorandum of understanding, we don't know if there's any deductions, and possibly, I thought a really good idea would be to have the TEA come here and just talk about, this is what we did, this is what we're not going to be doing anymore. You weren't really using our services, like Mr. Pilarski said, or the general manager, excuse me, and that's why we're not paying as much as what you were trying to convey. Is that correct? Can I ask the general manager? Is that the message you were trying to convey?
Yeah.
The reason the amount has changed, or we're actually getting the same services, from what I understood you to say, is because we were paying for services but weren't using all of them. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, good. So, and if that being the case, I'd like to hear it from, not that I don't trust the general manager, but just for them to explain from their side, just to confirm all of this. Because I frankly don't understand all the services they provide. But I did go back and watch the February 7th, 2024 meeting where the IRP was presented by the former general manager and the TEA presented. And so it's been over a year since they've come here and given a presentation, and I just think it's a good idea that you should invite them here and do that. And maybe do that before you make this final decision. So I don't think there was anything else I had to say on that. I did want to say something about the IRP, since it kind of goes hand in hand, because they helped you prepare the IRP. It's been paused, and I've asked, and this is why I made a comment about the concern about future power generation, because we haven't gotten a report back from the general manager, which the chair also asked for. I'm repeating myself for I don't know how many times. And we need that. We need to have that come back so we can explain how we're going to proceed in the future with future power generation. Because we have certain power generation plants that are set to retire. And I'm sorry, can I just continue for a few more seconds? That the general manager explained he is going to extend the life. I have a concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ross.
Since I answered one of the questions Mr. Ross had brought up, let me answer that somewhat. The IRP is developed every 4 to 5 years. It's not done every year. And they're always paused until the next one. So it's just a term of art. We're done with this. We can't work on it every day because it's a vision. And what you get to work on is actually looking for options that fill the IRP plan. It's a plan. It hasn't changed. It probably hasn't changed substantially over the past decade. We're looking for solar if we can get it. We're retrofitting our plants when we can, and we're looking for RICE engines. This is not complicated. What's complicated is actually getting the plants built, deciding where they're to be built, develop those options. So I wanted to speak to this because that's something that's been said over and over as though GRU is doing something wrong. We're not. We've stopped the constant iteration of the IRP, and it is what it is, and we're moving toward that. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, that's exactly right. This is over years since he was the CEO years ago at the City Hall, and he was shamed over the bio plant. And he was pointing what needed to be done, but nobody listened. If they had, everything he said here tonight would have came about. When Craig Carter was in office, those things were again mentioned, but yet nobody heard. Nobody chose to take and use that direction. I'm glad this board came about because it has made a major turnaround in the city of Gainesville. I'm just a bill payer, a resident, trying to take and move up the ladder, trying to help the bill payers and businesses in Gainesville that they can have something to look forward to. They're like scratching their hands at the middle of the day and night, wondering, when am I going to get money to pay this employee or that employee? No, that shouldn't happen. But that's exactly what has happened over the years. And Craig Carter can tell you that too. They can tell you this is what malarkey has happened in the city of Gainesville, and they've been there as marshals to help direct it forward. And now we're hearing it tonight. Thank you. Thank you all. And sir, thank you for coming to Gainesville and helping out our board. That's all.
Thank you. Back to the board for discussion.
Ed, when you were discussing this with T, is there a possibility for us to lower that if we're not using the services that they offer in the future and still maintain our membership, or is this the bottom rung for us?
Oh, yeah, it would be the bottom rung.
Okay.
Yeah. I suppose that there's a possibility in the future you could re-enter as a member. But just remember, T operates in 48 states. They just got Long Island Light as a customer. They originally operated as an adjunct to municipal power agencies and municipalities in the state of Florida. They went a little further afield to a point that it doesn't make us feel comfortable from a risk perspective. And getting those same services that we use with the same people, with the same expertise, knowing what zone 1, 2, and 3 are and where they're located and whether there's storage facilities here and there and how they can make it work for us is incredibly important. So I think we're going to give this a shot. And if the opportunity comes about, we certainly have access to the folks there. We will be talking.
Yeah, I just want to take a little umbrage with the assertion from Mr. Conish that we got a dirty and old and, the plants aren't somehow functioning. We've got them operating. Yeah, they're older equipment and we're operating. We have several redundant systems that, an unlikely thing that all would fail at once. If we happen to have a failure on one of the units, they can pick up the load with the other units. We're very fortunate in that we have the different resources we can use. And so far as the dirtiness, we're held to standards on what our emissions are. And whether we're burning coal, gas, or biomass, it's, clean energy. It's coming out. You look at the stacks out there, that's water vapor coming out of there. We also treat our own water that we use in the process, so because we have the ability to have our own wastewater plants, so nothing goes into the environment that, unregulated.
Director Jacobs, you've been listening. I really appreciate you saying this.
I wish people could take like a tour. I wish we could offer tours and see because it's really something pretty amazing, like the power plants out there.
That is music to my employees' ears, that you appreciate that, and it's absolutely true. We have Title V permits for air emissions at all our plants that we operate within, and The idea that they're dirty and obsolete is absolutely false. They may not be as efficient as the brand-new, combined cycle plant that FP&L is building, but they are functional, and they are functional because we have great employees that are, as Director Haslam has said, that work on them, know how they work, and are loyal, great employees.
As soon as we get some of this debt down, we look at, investing in some newer, more efficient ways.
Thank you, Jack. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The next business item is discussion surrounding misinformation about GRU and GRUA. The recommendation by staff is that the GRU Authority hear the presentation, discuss, and offer suggestions.
Well, it looks like the board kind of one-upped me on this one with some of the facts versus fiction, but boy, I love it. I love the support. I love them jumping on board, and because that's what educating the public is about, because we have entered a new era here at GRU. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. I'll let you know that I asked my folks to look at not only FMEA's chart of 38 utilities, where we're number 14 on the residential rate, but why don't we include the cooperative? So Jeff Johnson down in BFA said, yeah, I can work that for you. And so he ran the numbers. And we're 25 out of 52. 25 out of 52. You can't get much closer to the middle than that. So I can't tell you how proud I am of the folks that have been certainly making this happen across the board, from the finance people to the, the operations folks, all across the board. So let's do a little fact versus fiction here. And you mentioned some of them, so I can go a little quicker through all of it. But what I did is I took what the fiction I had that was spoken. These are actual statements. The GRU Authority doesn't listen to citizens. Well, it's actually interesting. We don't listen to citizens. We listen to customers who happen to be citizens as well. And so by you listening to customers, you're hearing 50% more than what the voters are, because you're listening to 30% of the folks that are out in the county. So you've opened up the communication level as opposed to close it off to city boundaries. So you've also emulated the city commission, which is under the under the Sunshine Law. You've opened it up, having public comment. It's advertised. You all have public emails that people can shoot you information that you can think about prior to coming to the meeting. But as Vice Chair Haslam said, listening doesn't always mean agreeing. And I think that's the element here. The board has been picked with opinions about where to take GRU. And you can hear things, but it doesn't mean that you necessarily agree with them, nor do I. So the other comment is this: future power generation may be jeopardized under the authority. City Commission decisions that saddled us with $2 billion of debt has jeopardized GRU's ability to get to additional power generation. We had a solar deal that was mutually dissolved because they kept coming back with new rate hikes. So you don't need to listen to it from me. You can actually read what Fitch wrote, and that is, the utility is actively reducing carbon emissions. Oh, that means that we're becoming less dirty by investing in its own resources through modernization, meaning they're not obsolete, gasification, and retrofits of diesel and coal units. The rating agencies recognize that this is a good practice, and they recognize affirm our ratings because of it. This is an outside agency that puts us under a microscope. So that's the fact associated with what we're doing in terms of generating assets. The other one that Vice Chair Haslam mentioned was the authority is robbing Gainesville by randomly cutting the general fund transfer. The comment is so malicious. I really have to address it. I mean, it does assume that the city's entitled to GRU customer money, which was the problem over the 4 years from 2018 to 21, when they took more money than what GRU actually made. So, when it is reduced, it's because of city commission actions where they've reduced the profit of GRU. We can't pay money that we don't make. I think you mentioned it, Vice Chair Haslam, that 95% of GRU profits since 2000 have went to the city. The cupboard's bare when it comes to that. The reduction of the GFT from 38 million to 8.5 million was needed to pay down some of this excess debt and satisfy the bond rating agencies. And again, that's not me. This is Fitch. Our rating is contingent. I'm sorry. We could get negative ratings if we fail to implement or maintain planned reductions in the general fund transfer. The reduced general fund transfer led to an increased FADS, which is a measurement of your leverage, and accelerated amortization of debt. Key strategic initiatives of the utilities financial plan. So this all supports what you all are doing. And if you don't want to listen to Fitch, just look at that GFT history and understand that in fiscal year 24, we reduced the GFT $19 million and in a total of $27 million in fiscal year 25. Remember those drops, because later on, we'll talk about the debt that was paid, because that allowed us to pay the debt. So these things all work together like a puzzle. And the puzzle is about making us sustainable. The other fiction that's out there is the state has put the city and GRU in a position unlike any utility in America. Well, that's just contrary to the facts. I mean, the statement would be perfectly fine if it said the city commission has put the city and GRU in a position unlike any utility in America. All you have to do is look at this outstanding debt to operating income calculation and see that GRU has 4 times the amount of debt as a 4-to-1 debt ratio to operating income. Tallahassee is 1.7, JEA is 1.58, OUC is at 1.55, and Lakeland is at 1.12. That's what the rating agencies are responding to. That leverage is too high, and we have to pay it down using the GFT to do that. And frankly, this was known at the time of House Bill 1645. House Bill 1645 was not punitive, it was protective of all GRU customers. The state performed a rescue mission. They came in like Army Rangers. Okay, that's going to get quoted, I better pull that back. But they came in a rescue, I was pointing to the fact it was a rescue mission to save the utility from the city's commission's mismanagement of its resources. So I would agree actually with the mayor who made this comment. If you delete the state and you put the city commission. The other comment that was made is the city commission is needed to bring stability to GRU. Actually, the city commission has brought everything but stability to GRU by having the November 2024 ballot. It fueled uncertainty. The rating agencies were nervous about it. We had to talk to them about our performance, about the things that we were doing, but it's something that they're watching. likely the second referendum will bring that same kind of uncertainty. And what's interesting about it is they've pointed out that this new referendum, it's not just about swapping out the boards. It's not that innocuous. They're taking the limitation on the GFT away. They're saying, we don't have to abide by the plan that the rating agencies want, that has brought you the affirmation of those ratings, have brought you actually some, how would I word it? We're a member of the Florida Municipal Electric Association, the Florida Municipal Power Association. I'm going to speak at their annual conference in July, having a sit down with some folks there to talk about what we've done, because they're impressed. They've seen what we've done, they like what we've done, and there's a message there for other people that are a public municipal utility. And I will be speaking on behalf of supporting municipal utilities. We are a public utility. I'm not saying we're not. Like you all said, you're part of the public. You are here, you are local. Yet the referendum is sitting there saying, local public utilities. Well, we are under the authority. So, and again, don't listen to me. Why don't you just read Fitch, where it says GRU was issued stable outlook. Oh, there's that word, stable. They didn't say we were unstable and the city commission needed to fix it. We're issued a stable outlook because of expectations of having leverage below 10, which is what we're working toward, GRU's ability to execute its current financial plan, which is paying down debt, reducing the GFT, watching its costs and operating expenses, maintenance of a strong operating income level, and there it is, lower general fund transfers approved last year. But instead, you have a referendum that's saying, nope, no cap. The cap goes away. It can be anything that we decide. That goes against the rating agencies.
It was the mayor that said that, right? Let's not put a cap on it, like, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, he said he was against it, but he voted for it.
Yeah.
So the other one is the authority unilaterally takes money from the transfer. The way I look at that is that the transfer, the GFT, is not an expense, it's a distribution of profits. So yes, it can go up and down because we make different amounts of money. And what's happened is that the city has bestowed certain costs upon us, like the streetlights, where there was an agreement for $1 million that they would absorb it. They ignored it unilaterally, so we had to take it out of the GFT. So embedded within this comment is us following the agreement that they signed to take that money out of the transfer. Also, the amount of the transfer should be based on making the utility financially stable and physically and sustainable. So the authority adjusts the GFT based on the city commission decisions that have lowered GRU profits and potentially led to higher rates. So remember the number I showed you before about the reductions in the GFT. You can see it right there. In fiscal year 24, you have the green on the top. You know, there's a $40 million pay down and in principal above and beyond our normal ones. $19 million of the GFT reduction paid for part of that. The next year, $29.7 million and $27 million of the reduced GFT paid for that. So we're putting the money where it's best suited, and it's reduced interest on the tune of about $10 million. We're doing things that are prudently in GRU's best interests. The other fiction here is being spoken about is the people have spoken, thus the issue is closed. There's this little thing called the appeal process that we're all allowed to engage in. We're allowed to use the court system as citizens and as organizations. We're protected by that appeal process. So we actually went and on one of the counts, the judge said the vote was misleading, or the ballot was misleading. So all that's been talked about here about, well, it's 70% for and 30%, I don't care if it was 100%. People didn't know what they were voting for. That's what the judge decided. Now, that could be appealed. The city hasn't decided to do that. But you can, on one hand, say, well, it's an overwhelming majority, when a judge has decided they didn't know what they were voting for. So the other part to that is, by saying they've spoken, you're sitting there saying, we don't live in a representative republic anymore. We don't have any shiver of a democracy left because, you don't need an appeals process. Really? You don't have an appeals process? These are probably the same people sitting there talking about due process right now, right? Well, we have due process too. So, and the big one is 1/3 of the people are being disenfranchised, those customers outside the city. I still can't get over that one. I mean, they have no rights, they have no ability to deal with the extraterritorial rights that are bestowed on the city by the legislature. And all you have to do is go back and listen to the city attorney. He talked about it the first time this occurred and said, the state can create and it can destroy a municipal entity. Okay? They exist as a municipality at the will of the legislature. So the fact that these words are being spoken, the people have spoken, thus the issue is closed, we live in a democracy. Come on, these are the facts. And people need to understand that. And here's the one that I haven't heard anything on the other side. There's no fiction that I can even point to, but the average residential bill has fallen 25% in 2 years. 25%. No electric gas base rate increase for 2 years. Lowest natural gas rates in the state, and we're among the lowest utility bills for the combined 4 services. And I mean, that's where I give a tip of the hat and a bow to the employees at GRU, because they are making this happen. So I think these are the indisputable facts that the authority has helped the employees and management leadership of the utility attain. So thank you very much. And with that, take some comments.
Oh, I really like seeing that, Ed. As we had spoken, I've been approached by some community organizations, some retirement homes to come and speak. So I'm actually going to be going out to the village in July. So Ed, I'll be looking for a PowerPoint presentation to take with me and any other information that you want me to hand out. But I encourage the rest of the board that if they reach out to you, I know I'm going to take some heat, but that's why we're here. We're here to listen. Like everybody said, we may not agree with you, but we will listen, and I do bring things back. So don't think that we just pay you lip service saying that we're listening to you and we're not hearing you. We are hearing you, but some of you aren't privy to all the information that we receive and aren't sitting in our one-on-one meetings with staff discussing these items and questions that we have. We try to keep these meetings concise so we don't sit here and regurgitate everything that's been presented to us. So I do thank you and staff for putting this together. So it'll be helpful for us all to be speaking with one common voice.
Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely don't have to fight anybody and argue in here normally, and that's why I don't say a whole lot, but we can't keep letting everyone be misled by a handful of boisterous people that really aren't telling the truth or just misinformed, I think, possibly. I'd like to give them the benefit of the doubt. And I think it's amazing what GRU's done, coming down to, among the lowest utility rates for the combined services, especially when, a couple years ago, we were among the highest. So, good job, everybody at GRU.
Thank you, David. Jay?
Yeah, again, I'm watching the city commission meeting on this last time. When they talked about the people that were disenfranchised, they recognized the fact that they were disenfranchised, and their solution was, well, tough. You get annexed in the city. And it's like, that's terrible. Some people don't want to live in the city. And, you know, they're lucky they don't deregulate, because I'll tell you what they would have done under the city with the highest bills, electric, they would have gone to another electric company. So yeah, it's just, you know, a terrible attitude. And then we had given them the legal letter with the 4 points on it, and they went through the 4 points, and their staff attorney told them, yeah, all this is still under litigation. It's still ongoing. And yet they all go, well, we think we're going to win, so we're just going to go ahead and do a new election. And, you know, that's another 220,000 plus they're going to waste by not letting the process go through and finish. They're going to waste a year of money. It could be moot down the road if something else gets resolved on this. I say we're going to win or they're going to win, but it's a process, like Ed said, and it needs to be allowed to continue without wasting any more money. But it just shows that, you know, this is a power and a money grab on their part. They're not interested in, and it, you know, just again makes me concerned how they spend the money. And like I said, they were really concerned about being able to fund their firefighters and law enforcement. And I said, you know, I'd be open to taking a look at that 8.5. We're still getting, I don't know if there's a way we can directly give that to the law enforcement. You know, I used to be a cop or something, and I said, you know, if they need help doing something. But those are the type of things down the road, if we get a better relationship with them, that we can help fund. But if they're not going to fund it,
Yeah, they're not gonna fund it regardless of how much we give them.
you know, it just, or our employees too, you know, better served if they're not going to use it properly, you know?
All right. Mr. Chair?
There's
Can-
a motion on the floor at this.
I understand that, I understand that. But given that you lost the last referendum by almost 73%, and we're going to have another one, could the public please help you shape your message? Because you're probably going to lose by more this time because it's a special election.
So, Mr. Kaddish, I would encourage you to email the board members. with
They
your
won't
points.
read it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I read all my emails.
Yep, me too.
No, we're no public comment. So we've done that, right? So so all in favor of the motion, say aye. Oh, we don't have a motion?
It was informational.
Yeah, it was
Informational.
okay.
He-
Oh, it was
You just pulled a Craig,
Threw
just
you
so you
off
know.
there,
I was ready for you.
We're rubbing off on them.
I am rubbing off on you, sorry, Eric.
We're gonna be in trouble when Craig's gone, I gotta be honest with you.
Okay. Thanks for all your comments and thanks for your work on that. Ed. Thank you.
And thank you for all the director's comments too.
The next business item is authorize the utilities attorney to file a lawsuit on behalf of the authority challenging City of Gainesville Ordinance Number 2025-416 in the 8th Judicial Court. The recommendation from staff is that the GRU authority authorize the utilities attorney to file a lawsuit on behalf of the authority challenging the City of Gainesville's Ordinance Number 2025-416 in the 8th Judicial Circuit Court.
Good evening. For the record, Derek Perry, Utilities Attorney. If it would please the authority, I'll give a brief overview of what we are asking and then turn it over for comment and/or a vote. In short, as you may be familiar, the City of Gainesville is proceeding with they're having a second reading of an ordinance to have a special election and a referendum this fall. And they're moving at a quick speed, and so we felt it would be important to bring this to you and allow you to have the opportunity to challenge that law, challenge that ordinance. With that said, the board meets once a month, and so it was important that we bring this now, and we don't want to foreclose any opportunities we may have in moving sooner or later, depending on how things progress. With that said, I did want to also mention that the filing fee is $450 in service. But we, as staff, myself as the attorney, we work closely with Folds Walker, and I don't want to give the impression that we are seeking to go it alone. At the board's discretion, we can spend an entire GFT on the lawsuit, but this would have been better written if I'd included the word initially. So this is mostly about getting our foot in the door at the courthouse if needed in the meantime before we meet again next month. But with that said, we would also entertain any direction on outlay capitally or involving the Fultz Walker team, which they have been so generous and kind to me personally. And I did want to take a moment to thank them and let them know how much I appreciate working with me and their advocacy on behalf of the authority and GRU.
Thank you, Derek.
Yeah, I'd add to that too. If you approve this, don't approve it to the level of $450. It can
That's
be
for
higher
the
than
filing.
that.
So Derek, you're gonna have a lot of people. They're gonna do their best because they think it's fun or something to pick apart everything you say and probably lie about it. I know that you probably know that, but that's the first of many gotchas. You know what I mean? So.
Does anybody have any questions or comments or want to make a motion?
Make a motion that the GRU authority authorize utilities attorney to file a lawsuit on behalf of the authority challenging the city of Gainesville ordinance number 2025-416 in the 8th Judicial Court.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second. Public comment.
Mr. Chair, I have published law books for 40 years. I'm more of a professor than a practicing lawyer. I have never seen a legal dispute like this. This is an outlier. We have the spectacle of two units of city government suing each other, which is unprecedented. Judge Windsor, a respected federal judge across the street, explained to you that there is no bottom. There is no telling where this can lead to. And we are at the edge of a cliff legally. I would like to know is if this attorney is going to file for a writ of prohibition like you should have done in a timely fashion in the first place to stop the last referendum to get into the voters where you were slaughtered. You dropped the ball, sir. Bolarski was RVing. You had to resign because of a bogus residency challenge. We can't afford anything like that on this. So what I would recommend that you do is reach out to the most powerful Tallahassee law firm. There's a handful of law firms that are known as the fourth branch of state government. There used to be about a dozen, but when the Republicans took over in 1991, it shrunk to about 4 or 5. It used to be Greenberg Trog. I don't know who it is now. But not only do you have to vigorously appeal Judge Wright's clearly erroneous decision, which you never would have got from Judge Mosley if you'd acted in a timely fashion, because he's from Stark. And I had talked to Mr. Walker about this. You got Judge Wright because you didn't act in time to get a writ of prohibition in the door, because by the time you challenged it, the ballots were printed. And that's on this authority, sir. That's an unforced error. And I would start paying the monthly direct transfer into the trust account of this law firm to vigorously appeal the first referendum and Judge Wright's decision, to challenge the second referendum, to develop a glitch bill, unlike the pathetic Johnson bill that died on the vine. I would get the glitch bill going, and I'd get it filed in a timely fashion with the Florida legislature to end the litigation once and for all. But there's one more thing. There will be a vote. I don't think any judge is going to stop the second referendum. They'll say you don't count the votes. They say it won't count. Put on the ballot the question. Give the voters a choice. Would you like the authority to investigate the sale of the electric utility, and whether that would be a way instead of the deceptive, oh,
Thank
the
you,
bills
Mr.
are in the middle of the
Collins.
pack. That would be a way to actually get the bills in the middle of the pack and position this community to be out from under the burden of the disastrous decision-making that you can never rectify
Thank you, Mr.
with
Collins.
$25 million a year in profit, sir. Thank you.
Chuck Ross again. Before I start, when there was an item that there was no vote taken and Mr. Conish came up and spoke, that's really unfair to the rest of us. I had a few things I wanted to
agree.
say.
Yeah.
So please, you know,
Oh, well, I'm asking you guys to follow the rules.
I did follow the rules, and I do, and you know that. So as far as this
Mr. Ross,
item,
we do respect you, just so you know, sir.
as far as this is concerned, this item, I already spoke on it earlier with regard to what I think about whether or not you should do this, which is don't do it, and let the will of the people decide as it is, or the judge is going to decide, as was pointed out, one way or the other. But you should let the referendum proceed, because if the people don't want this board governing the body, the GRU, then you should respect the will of the people. But meanwhile, I did want to address something that was said about the prior referendum. As far as the lack of turnout, there are 145,000 residents in Gainesville. That's an accurate statement. 55,000 or 60,000 of them are students, approximately. So the actual registered voters is 79,000, and of those, 54,000 showed up. And of those, 73% said they wanted to remove this authority. That's a
According
fact.
to you, 55,000 is part of the electric population.
Not me, I didn't,
Didn't you say
excuse me,
students?
no, I didn't say that. And please don't interrupt me, because can't interrupt you. Thank you. And the other thing, so please, take a look at that. I mean, I don't, there were some things that were said on the misinformation I'd love to talk about. I'm not gonna go there. And, you know, as far as spending money, well, now you guys are spending money. Let the people talk. I mean, let their voice be heard, because now you're going to spend a bunch of money fighting, and as Mr. Conish said, there's two departments fighting with each other, which is unheard of. That's correct. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing this lawsuit. This lawsuit is already won. How? It's because this mayor who's challenged you on this lawsuit, who wants to willingly pay our money, the taxpayers' money, $256,000 for a reelection, where has he got the nerve or the ability to do it? He don't. Point blank, he don't. Why? Because Tallahassee came down here and told them, and said it in the letter, that you were in violation of your office, your oath of office. You're in violation of the, what's it called? God, I apologize. Memorandum. There's 5 things against this mayor, but yet this fool is still in office. These Democrats think they can do anything. 104 years proves it. Why? Because what do? They sign people into office instead of taking the voters' votes. Last year, 2 years ago, same thing. So there's your proof of the lawsuit of this mayor. He don't have permission from Tallahassee to take and sign anything, but yet he signs grant checks, he signs P and C notes, that is not his authority. They should have took and went to the other person who had rightfully won the election, and like I said before, they have no jurisdiction in the city, state, or federal over all this. Ed Borowski got years ago had proved these points. They had no interest in the people. Their interest was in the fat check in which they received. And they make their employees accountable for it. Look at the layoff that happened at GRU. Who did that? The city. They said, you've got to lay off this amount of people. But yet, GRU, I have never heard GRU say, well, where's our authority? Well, thank God we got this board. Thank God we got you all. Because you're fighting for the public and citizens like me. And you say about these employees, you have an employee, 2 employees right offhand that I know, Linda Russell and Craig. I don't remember what Craig's name. He works at the front desk there. They fought tooth and nail to get the money back to GRU that I earned, that I owed GRU. And finally, we was able to get it done, get that money back. And here today, I can stand proudly and say my bill is being paid.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Back to the board for any discussion?
Realistically, I mean, I don't like the idea of spending money, but this has been foisted upon us to have to fight this. Realistically, what kind of money are we gonna spend? What kind of backup are we gonna need, do you think? Like ballpark? I mean, because like, I would probably at some point say that we pull that from the general transfer fund.
I already interpreted that.
Yeah, that's already, it is interpreted that way. So yeah, you got $8 million, I guess.
The reality is that we're going to be meeting in a month. We already have ongoing litigation because of the nature of it. I'm not going to speak too much about what's going on, but this is merely authorizing us to file the lawsuit. Whether we do or not in the next month is, you would leave at our discretion.
Sure. All right, cool.
So it's tough. It won't be a whole lot of money, even if we employed 2 attorneys at Folds Walker for a month straight.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
pick it up off the ground, but in the scheme of our budget, it's not a lot.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Right back, Chair.
The next item on the agenda is the presentation of the State of the Utility Monthly Update for April 2025.
Chair Lawson, Directors, GRUA, Tom Brown, Chief Operating Officer at GRU. I'd like to go over the State of the Utility Report from last April, maybe highlight a few things. If you've had an opportunity to go through the report, that'd be great. And then there's some other things that have happened. And on behalf of the 850 people that go to work every day and work very hard for the people of Catonsville, let's take a look at the results. First off, I usually lead off with safety, something I have a very strong opinion of. I believe in it. It's our foundation of everything we do. But for April, we actually had 0 accidents, which I wish I could report that every month. So that was great. But I will say we had a contractor this last week that was injured up at Deer Haven. We're still doing the investigation on that accident. He wasn't seriously injured, but it could have been really bad. So we're taking a real hard look at that one going forward. So to date, we've had 1 first aid, 6 recordable injuries, at least through the end of April. But we're not doing too bad. From a vehicle perspective, we had 1 recordable collision during the month. We have a total of 13 for the year. 2 were preventable. When they're recordable but not preventable, that means somebody ran into us, so we didn't hit anybody. So again, it was a pretty good month as far as safety and operation. And that was driving 151,000 miles. And I don't know about you, but I'm not sure I could drive 151,000 miles without having something happen. Somebody pull out in front of you doing something different things. So go through the different divisions on some of the highlights for April. Starting off with the Kelly plant. I think the last time we reported that Kelly was dealing with some CO emissions coming out of their outage. As we speak right now, we took Kelly offline today. It's developed, that I think is part of the, related to the CO issue. We don't know exactly what's wrong, but we have it offline. We're going to cool it down over the next few days, go in and bore scope it, get an understanding of what perhaps failed, correct it, and bring the unit back. That's where we are with that. And I have to mention this, I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to. We have to do a bore scope of the unit, and the company that's capable of doing the bore scope of the turbine won't come here over the weekend because there's scheduled protests, and they don't feel their employees are safe. So it will extend the outage at least 48 hours. They can't get here before Monday. And I will tell you that it's probably an increase in generation costs of about $150,000 a day. So our local protest cost the GRU customers $300,000. So it's just the way it is. South Energy Center, we've been dealing with a 3,500-ton steam-driven chiller. I'm happy to report that as I stand here today, it's back online as of today, but it's been offline. We had to send the steam turbine out to have it rebuilt, bearings reconstructed. So that's a really good thing. Having that for the hospital over the summer is a really big deal. So it represents at least 50% of their cooling capacity, so it gives them the extra redundancy they need for the unit. So. And then up at Deerhaven, we had taken, I think, most of this happened in May. We took Deerhaven Renewable off to repair a steam leak. We took Deerhaven 2 down to repair the left turbine throttle valve that had given us issues. But that's been repaired, put back online, as well as a feed water heater. So they're back in there. But if you look under the availability and capacity for the month, you'll see that all 4 of our ancient and decrepit units were at 100% available. So that's my attempt at humor.
Good job. All right, I like it.
All right.
You forgot dirty.
Dirty, yeah.
They're dirty too.
What's that?
No.
The moment's passed.
That's all right. Moving over to energy delivery. For the month, we had 86 outages. 64 of them were overhead, 15 were underground. When you break it down, we had, I think 36 of them were due to vegetation, animals, almost a third of them. And we had about 31 equipment failures, which is on the high side for us. I'm not sure what's driving that, but that's the way it was. So, and going on here, I think some of the big things worth mentioning, and Chad's going to come up a little while here and give a short video, but we've actually replaced 2 of our transformers recently, one at the Parker substation and the other one at McMeekin. Put it in, installed it, and it's now energized and working, and the new transformer is a little bit bigger than the older ones, so we now have about 40 megawatts of capacity out of the transformer instead. I think the old one was about 20. So it help us for long-term growth of the utility as well. Okay, I think too the AMI program is moving forward. At this point, we are essentially 100% deployed on the electric meters, 76% on the water, and 86% on the natural gas for about 89%. But we're well on track to have that program wrapped up by the end of the year as far as deploying all the meters. It's like 220,000 meters. Big job.
Tom, what's the time frame on the software that enables customers to be able to better understand and view their usage?
That's a bit nebulous at this point. We do have a program in place that they're working on it. I think from an engineering perspective, from what we're going to see, I think those programs will come online sometime mid-year next year. The customer service program may be a little bit longer than that. It has to interface with the SAP and the FMIS system as well. So it's a bit of a struggle.
I'd add to what's happening right now is that CIS was contracted to go to software as a service SaaS system through a company called Vertex One. Did AMI through Itron. Frankly, there was never anything to connect the two, budgeted and implemented. So we're doing that after the fact. So what you have is one vendor who has software as a service. You have another vendor that can take the program or they can take the hardware they have and connect it into their own portal. What we have is two vendors fighting with each other right now, saying, and coming back to us and saying, well, it's not in our contract, it's not in our contract, and it's going to cost you money. And pretty soon the hammer's going to come down, and we're going to tell them both get out of here, and we'll go with we won't get both of them to come out of here, but we'll have Vertex One that will just manage that, because that's what we're trying to get to with the customer. It's the customer service. The AMI is out in the field. So right now, we basically have a blocking strategy with Vertex One and SEW that we've been nice up till now. If it goes on any longer, there's going to be some hell to pay, quite frankly.
So Ed, you'll come back at a later date with an update.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. I think that's about on that. On water, wastewater, I think of note in theirs is that the amount of water delivering is a little bit higher than normal. I think it's due to the dry weather. Irrigation usage is up. And you can see that because the actual water reclamation really isn't up. So it has to be for irrigation. So in addition to that, we have had a NERC audit in process for the last 2 months. Most of this was done off-site, and just volumes of paperwork was passed back it's actually the CERC, the Southeast region, on behalf of NERC that was doing the audit. Passed all that documentation for them to review. We were given I believe it was 13 different requirements that they were going to specifically look at. And I think I've mentioned before, we're actually responsible for about 1,300 we comply with every day. So they came in and they looked at 13 that were computer-based. Took a look at it. They came on site, this was about 3 weeks ago. Time keeps flying by here on me. And the results of the audit were very good. They were very complimentary to our team and very complimentary to our culture of compliance that we have here. They did an on-site tour of Deerhaven Renewable. They did an on-site a system control, and they also toured Parker and McMeekin substations. So coming out of that, there were what they call potential non-compliances. There were 2 of those. They weren't part of their audit, so they didn't, they won't basically write it up as a violation, but if they were to come back next year and find it, they would. If they happened to be auditing those 2 particular requirements, the things that they found were corrected, and I will tell you they were very minor. It's kind of difficult to explain exactly what they were. There was one issue that was written up as a non-compliance, and that's being negotiated as we speak. From their perspective, it is. I'm not sure it really is, but the software that they used to come in to analyze our system was showing something that, quite frankly, wasn't correct. They were showing that our primary system control connected to our backup control system didn't have any firewalls, and then that's not true. We have firewalls, and it's connected and protected and isolated. So I think we'll work through that. But overall, they thought that was very good. And I will tell you, our NERC program is outstanding. The people that work on that do an excellent job for you, for the people. In addition to that, during this last month, we had a general and asset insurance inspection. That team toured our wastewater facilities, and they toured, I think, Deer Haven this time. They were up at Deer Haven Renewable. They hadn't been there before. And they were very complimentary, too, as well. They really had no major findings or recommendations to us, so that speaks well, helps you keep your insurance rates down. So with that, I'd like to highlight a couple things. I like to do that because there seems like there's a lot of negativity that floats around at these meetings, so I'd like to put something positive out there for you to think about. And I asked my team leaders to put together some of their, I call them the wins for the month, but one of them was at the GRU Murphy Water Plant. We won 2 awards from the Region 11, the Florida Section American Water Works Association, for best tasting drinking water. And they also won the People's Choice Award. And Region 11 covers 12 counties: Alachua, Baker, Bradford, Columbia, Dixie, Gilchrist, Hamilton, Marion, Lafayette, Levy, Sewanee, and Union. So kudos to the people in the water department for having good drinking water. The other thing that happened in this last month, we have a program called Drop Savers. It's organized annually by GRU and the Florida section of the American Water Works. And it's a contest that invites K-12 students to create original artwork promoting the importance of water conservation. This year marked the largest participation yet. Families, teachers, and community members joined us for a ceremony with sweet treats and a chance to honor each student's creative efforts. Winners received a commemorative glass print of their artwork, and 3 students placed at the state level, including 1 first-place finish in Florida's Division 5 category. The winning posters were featured in April at the Alachua County Library District Headquarters and will be displayed in our lobby this summer. I have the name down here. Harry M., Division first place winner, received 3rd place at the state level for Division 1. Julia G., the Division 4 first place winner, received 2nd place at the state level for Division 4. And Melina M., the Division 5 first place winner, received 1st place at the state level for Division 5. So I think congratulations to those kids. I looked at those posters and they're far better than I could ever do. They really did a great job. The Main Street Water Reclamation Facility obtained a new 5-year operating permit from the Florida Department of Environmental and Protection, effective May 23rd, 2025. The staff worked with FDEP to provide information for the application that included information figures and graphics for Main Street Water Facility. Wastewater Collection System Action Plan, a capacity analysis report, a reclaimed water master plan update, and an operation and maintenance performance report with condition assessment information of all equipment. And the new permit's valid until May 23rd. These permits are a tremendous amount of work. You have no idea. I know we're going through the process of the CUP application for new water withdrawal. And geez, it's just hundreds and hundreds of pages they have to submit. It's incredible. So right now, water, wastewater has lots of construction projects out of the way. Director, you mentioned the MOT out there on 34th and 16th, I guess, and things like that. But there's a lot of things going on. All the projects are on track to meet the project deadlines. And what isn't so obvious is a lot of these projects are subsidized or partially paid for through grant monies. And I think over the next 3 months, Ms. Doherty told me we have like $11 million, $11.5 million coming back to GRU for work that they're performed out there. And that only happens because they get the work done. So they have to do their end on it. So moving down through some things, energy supply. Deer Haven 2, they had that short duration outage where they fixed the throttle valve and fixed their feed water heater. But they also completed a full load diesel fuel test on unit number 1. Unit number 1 is typically fired on natural gas, and it also has a backup fuel, a bunker C. And bunker C fuel has a consistency of tar. It's very, very thick. And right now, it's hard to get, and it's expensive to maintain the tanks because you have to heat them, heat the oil all the time so that it flows. Otherwise, it's too thick to actually pump. So what they did is they did their test on number 2 diesel, and that's readily available, about the same price as Bunker C right now. So we can actually convert using diesel fuel from number 6 and retire the number 6 tank eventually at the end of the year. So that's a big deal. It's going to save us some bucks, big bucks. They also completed the inspection of the diesel tank using robotics. And that's the first time they've ever done that. So they had a little robot in there and they did their thickness and corrosion tests and stuff like that. So tank got a clean bill of health as far as I know. We leased our idle train cars, coal train cars to OUC through the end of the year, make a few bucks more for it. And this last week or so, I think we received $1.1 million of an insurance payout. And that was a partial payment for the stacker reclaimer bearing failure at DHR that they experienced about a year and a half ago. Energy delivery, they completed the last 3 months without any vehicle accidents, which is great. They successfully delivered the 2 transformers, and Chad's going to talk to you a little bit about that. And actually, this last May was one of our highest reliability months for a long time. So things are going well. I think the teams are doing a great job for you. So with that, I'd like to introduce Chad Parker. Chad has been recently promoted, actually, from acting to a permanent status as Energy Delivery Officer. And he's going to present a short video, I think, on the delivery of the new 40-megawatt transformer out of McMeekin. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chad.
Thanks, Tom.
You're welcome.
Good evening. Thanks for having me here tonight. Wanted to talk about our transformer replacement project. So we're going to show you a quick video on the delivery of one of those transformers, but I want to talk about what that is. So in early 2022, we started our project to change out some of these transformers that are aging and failing. So we're trying to take a proactive approach to replace some of these transformers. We're slotted to change 16 transformers before 2029. So that's a big endeavor for our group. We've changed 8 so far. And what you see in the video is this transformer being unloaded and us putting on a pad. But the reality is there's a lot of work to get to that point. You know, these transformers are years out. You know, we put our orders in, and then there's several trips up north to take a look at them. We do factory acceptance testing, make sure they meet all of our specs. And then once they get delivered, we do the exact same thing because they were delivered on a truck and they bounced around. We have to make sure that everything is still in compliance and inspect there. So there's just a lot of work. So I want to say kudos to the substation group because a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. You know, we get this transformer here and then everybody, you know, sees the benefits of that. But the reality is there's a lot of work to get there. And what we're doing by replacing these transformers, we're improving reliability and we're increasing the capacity. So the common goal is we're replacing these transformers with a common size and a common manufacturer. So same manufacturer, same size. You look at it like this. You can take a fleet of vehicles and you have a small mechanic shop and you have 10 different vehicles. Those mechanics have to learn how all those 10 vehicles, you know, work and the parts and changing that stuff out. So by changing all these out, you know, our workforce can be trained on this specific type of transformer that can identify problems. We can get parts quicker and easier. So just streamlining that. So big investment, big project, a lot of work, but it's going smoothly. And what you'll see in this video is one of them being delivered right here to McMeekin, and it's now energized and serving our customers.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Chad, how heavy is that transformer?
Thousands and thousands of pounds. I don't remember the exact weight of that, but yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's a big crane.
Yeah, when you saw them unloading that, the counterweight, it took them an hour to get the counterweights on that crane.
Wow, an hour.
Mr. Chair. What's the cost of that unit, and can the old ones be rebuilt, or are they time, that's it?
I can't remember the specific cost of those new units. And the old ones, I think that, and don't quote me on this because I don't know the specifics, but some of the old ones, I don't think that they were rebuildable, but we did recycle those old units.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Chad or Tom? Congratulations on the promotion.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for your leadership. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Tom.
Any other questions?
Call tonight.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have no resolutions tonight for the agenda, so the very next item would be director comments.
All right, we'll start over here with Jack.
Well, I got most of my comments out there in the regular session, so, but I would like to say congratulations to Craig and the work you've done here, and we're gonna miss you, and we're gonna miss your knowledge with the city commission and all that, the background information that we have because of your work there. And I don't know what your next venture is gonna be, but I wish you well in it, and I know we'll see you occasionally at breakfast every once in a while, so.
It'll be you and I doing an epoxy project, hopefully.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm concerned for the future ability of this board to make motions. We'll figure it out.
You guys are doing great.
We'll figure it out.
I'm gonna force you to make
No,
a-
thank you. You definitely bring a skill set that all of us are gonna have to try to catch up on as far as operation and process. I really thank you for that. The biggest thing for me personally, though, it's a personal item, is your ability to also be able to pray out loud and love Jesus. That's a big one for me. So thank you for that. As a man who does love Jesus, I thank you.
No problem. Thank you, sir.
Craig, you get the last word tonight, so we're going to skip you for now.
Okay.
Craig, always a pleasure to work with you. Worked with you across the
Yep.
street. We always had a good relationship. You brought me sage and wise advice, believe it or not. Enjoyed sitting next to you, and hopefully we'll grab lunch and you won't disappear, and understand you're going to be working with Dennis probably. So.
We don't know. We'll see what they come up with next.
But stay out of public service. Enjoy your life for a while.
I'll try.
So Craig, from my perspective, just want to thank you for all your leadership. We owe you a debt of gratitude for your tireless just support of this community, for our customers, for GRU, the organization, and then also for helping us as board leaders, getting oriented to this process, this public nature. And whether you were out front or you're sitting next to us here on the dais, you're always very supportive. And so we can't thank you enough for all that you've done for GRU and for our community. So we have something for you. I want to thank Ed and his team for putting this together. If you'll stand up here.
I will.
Present you this. It's
Oh, boy.
just a thank you. It's got your picture on there, and so hopefully you. I don't know about the background. Ed will have to help you with that. But
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So maybe after the board meeting, we could have the board members get a picture with Craig with the, all right?
That'd be great.
All right. So I'll turn it over to you, Craig.
Okay. Thank you very much. I do goodbyes terrible, as Ed well knows. When I left the commission, I left a video and walked out the door. But I just want to say a few things. It was not fun in the very beginning. I'll be very honest with you. I had about a 2.5 hour notice from being appointed to sitting in the chair. And basically the attacks on the employees and the staff started that night almost. And that's something that I will not miss. I think it's inappropriate. So that being said, Mr. Cunningham was an amazing man. He loves this utility, always has. Been here a number of years. What I had to do that night was one of the toughest things I ever had to do. I believe it's the right thing. I told Tony in advance But the attacks, that people that came after him and attacked him, that's unexcusable. I'm sorry. Mr. Nee, I've known him for a number of years. Dan Nee and his wife are some of the finest people you'll ever meet. I think he's an excellent attorney. I stand by my decision. I think it would be hard to serve two big entities like that, and I think it's sort of proving out. But never did I question his ability, his integrity, or his friendship. And I'm tired of certain people jumping on him. It's not fair. This executive staff is amazing. I made a decision one night. I made some motions, a series of motions. Some people lost their job. The staff that is here treated me professionally, respectfully, and I think they know why I did what I did. Tallahassee was going to keep coming after Tony until it hurt the whole utility, in my opinion. So I did what I did. The over 800 employees, I proudly wear my GRU shirt. I wore it on my boat a couple weeks ago, and someone gave me a thumbs up, perhaps a former employee. I proudly wear my GRU hat. When I first came on the commission, one of the concerns is our employees didn't feel they could proudly wear their uniforms in Publix, was a statement someone made, and that was one employee. But I proudly wear it, and I am so honored to represent the over 800 employees. That's been amazing. I'm also honored that the governor picked us. That's pretty amazing. I did text the governor's office and said, thank you for selecting us. It was, Eric and I were on the first board, and I can't believe that you signed up again. I didn't, but you did. And, and I just want to thank you. Without a doubt, the best decision I've made was I'd like to make a motion to make Eric Lawson the chairman. If I had anything at all to do over again, it'd be that first night when I looked at you and said, are you okay with this? Because what I really wanted was you to be chairman from the beginning. And I'm leaving this utility in great hands with the executives out there in this board, and it's been an honor to serve with all of you. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. I didn't lose it. Okay.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Craig. With that, we're adjourned. Thank you. So if you guys can hang out.
Yeah.